You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear.
All right, we're diving back in. Another episode of STAGR Cast. This is episode number 18 or 19, I think now. It's hard to believe we're that many in already.
Time flies.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different of an episode than what you're used to. We don't have a guest this week, but we have a special co-host. Greg Gove is a friend of mine. We do some hunting together. We work together. He was one of the special co-hosts on the Rodney podcast. You set that one up for us because you've known Rodney for a few years or whatever.
Yeah, done a lot of taxidermy work with him over the years. Great guy, great family.
Yep. So you're gonna see more Greg this deer season. I have a set of mics, and I've got a group of guys I hunt with. We got plans to hunt all over, and then Isaac's got a set of mics. He's got a group of guys he hunts with all over, and we're just gonna be recording content from the field, after we get out of the woods for the day, recording episodes, giving you guys deer season updates, deer stories, stuff we're doing at the time, and just going to keep it fresh and keep as much content out there that's quality as we can. So you'll be seeing some more Greg this season. I know we've got a lot of stories together. We're going to have a lot more stories together this year. We got some stuff in the works. And we also got other guys we hunt with, too, that are some hammers, too. So we'll get all sorts of stories coming for the year. But what we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to do a quick overview on the entire gear line that we have coming out with Stagger this year. All about the details of it, from the gloves, the jacket, which a lot of people are asking about. Everybody's pre-ordered those, so we're going to give you all the details on that, from the fabric, the weight, the layout, the whole idea behind it, everything like that. So we'll be doing that, and then after that, I think we'll probably do a little bit about our deer season we have coming this year, the plan for it, where we're going to be hunting state-wise. Mm-hmm. Kind of the idea behind it, stuff we got in the works now, and then maybe tell a few deer stories or something at the end. Keep it light, keep it fun, and we'll go from there. But since you didn't really do an intro of yourself on the Rodney one, we kind of focused on. It's hard not to focus on Rodney. Yeah, he's a wicked storyteller. But why don't you give the guys a little bit of a background on yourself, what you do, where you're from, stuff like that, so they can get to know you a little better.
Yeah, like I said, Adam said. I worked with Adam's dad for years and years and years, and now I work with Adam, and that's kind of how we met. And done a lot of hunting throughout the Northeast. Wouldn't call myself a trophy hunter, but had pretty good success over the years. But I just love everything to do with hunting, trapping, fishing, foraging, you name it. So it's kind of a natural thing to kind of hook up with Adam. And when he started this company, I was really excited and wanted to help out in any way I can. So. Really exciting to see the way he's kind of started from scratch, and really in not a lot of time, you got a whole gear line and a really successful podcast, and it's only uphill from here. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Hey, it's been growing, but you've been a big part of it from the beginning too, helping me test stuff out. So we started this company back in August of last year, August of 21. So everything you see in front of you has kind of been conceptualized, tested, and then manufactured everything since in a little over a year's time. So it's been a crazy busy year. But Greg's one of the first guys that really hopped in and helped out with the testing and designing stuff and bouncing ideas off him putting ideas. So some of the stuff you see on this table is a lot of help to you too, and a lot of the other guys, because I think the first thing we tested was the glove line.
Yeah,
that was the first thing we worked on, because there was the carbine gloves there. That was the first thing I had because we had a whole pile of them last year to test out, run through. There was probably 15 or 20 guys around here and around the Northeast that were testing them out for me last year. But yeah, super happy with how those turned out.
Do you want to tell them about how I almost got fired from Stagger before I ever got hired?
You want to? Oh no!
I accidentally sold Adam's first prototype pair of gloves at Huntstock this year. I had a customer that he wanted to buy now, and I sold them, and then it was a bad scene for a minute.
Nah, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't a big deal. It was just pretty funny. Yeah. So at Huntstock, if you guys saw us, we had the gloves set up, one of each style, but they hadn't come in yet from the stitcher, and an old man rolls up to Greg when I was on the stage, right, Isaac and I were doing a podcast,
yeah.
And then an old guy rolled out. He put the pressure on you.
He says, "I'm buying now, or I'm not buying at all." And I said, "A bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. So I'm going to make a decision here." And I did, and he hasn't let me forget it. So
I just think it's funny. Yeah, that was the first pair of carbine gloves I ever made.
Yep.
So some guy in Massachusetts, I can't remember what his name was. He's rolling around with the original pair of Stagger prototype carbine gloves. They were broken in real nice, but it's all right. We got plenty of them now.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, we're good. We got plenty of them. But yeah, so like kind of the idea with the carbine gloves and the whole glove line. So as you guys know, we've got 3 designs of gloves this year. We've got the fingerless glove, which is just a classic, a classic staple there. But we kind of improved the grip on everything, the cuff, the feel, and the material as well. So there's a lot of like fingerless wool gloves on the market, but most of them are merino, and merino's great and stuff. And I'm not saying we're never going to do a merino glove, but the merino ones on the market that I realized didn't really have grip on them. There wasn't a lot of merino ones with grip on them. And then merino, as you know, I mean, being that it wicks so much moisture and stuff, that's why they're great base layers. Mm-hmm. They kind of soak up the water. If you're tracking on those sloppy days, they kind of soak them up. So what we went with on the entire glove line, but more specifically for the fingerless, is the rag wool, which it's a tougher wool compared to a merino. Merino is a finer, softer wool, so it repels water a little bit better than the merino does. And then with that, we also improved the grip on it. So for those that haven't seen them on the website, it's got that angled grip there. So versus the dots you get real icy days and stuff like that. They tend to like gum up and fall off. So you get more surface area with them. And then with these two, being that they're angled like that, the grip folds into each other. So like when you're cupping something or you're running the action of a gun, the grips fold into each other so it doesn't bulk up, which is kind of the idea we went with that. And then for the other glove on that line, which if you haven't seen them yet on the website, it's the full finger, which is another classic glove. It's a rag wool glove, full finger, 100% wool, and that also has angled grip. I've liked using them so far. It's super lightweight option. If you don't like a bulky glove, super slimline glove, that's what we went with that. Super lightweight, repels water really good. We're super excited to use those this year. And then like we were talking about with the carbine here, that was the first idea we really came out with, was the carbine. And it's got the cut pointer finger and the cut thumb finger on that. And obviously that's not the first glove that's doing that. I think the first pair of gloves like that I had they were Sitka gloves. Sitka makes a pair like that are like a merino blend, the camo ones. And I really like that glove. I think I probably had that pair, probably 5 or 6 years ago, a while ago. And I really liked the pair, but the problem was with that merino and the synthetic material, it soaked up a lot of water. And the worst part about it is they don't have one that has grip on it, that has that thumb and cut pointer finger out of it. Yep. And you've got to have, if you're hunting in the big woods and you're running a pump action, you know how those slippery those stocks are. Even with the grooves and stuff, you had to have the grip on it, because I was trying to run the action of a gun, just shooting and stuff, and it's very hard. It's very slippery. So that's kind of the idea with that, is to have that grip on there, have those cut fingers, because it just allows you to get your safety off quicker. You can pull out your phone if you need to check on X, GPS, stuff like that. And we put a liner in there. What we kind of found, so we're working on development of a unlined one, but for the first year, what we found in testing is that if you had that on those real cold days with that thumb and the pointer finger exposed, we kind of found that if you didn't have that liner, there wasn't enough warm blood going around your hands to keep it, your pointer and your thumb warm enough. And you want to be able to feel that if you're going to be pulling the trigger, pulling the safety off, stuff like that. Yep. But with that liner, so it's a little bulkier than, the full finger one here that has nothing in it. It's a little bulkier. It's not over the top by any means. But what we found with that liner is it keeps the other fingers warm. It keeps that blood warm, keeps it moving around, and you can really get by on those cold days, even with your thumb and your pointer finger out. So we're super happy with those turn out. They got the elastic cuff too, so they pull right tight to your wrist, keep snow out, and they repel water with that rag wool a lot better than a merino or a synthetic material. So
plus the fact too that virtually everyone's using Onyx or Hunt Stand now. And,
exactly.
Instead of taking your glove off every 5 seconds when you're on a track, you can just you got the ergonomic finger for the trigger, and you've got the being able to get on your phone during the day without having to take your glove off, and that's saves you a lot of movement too.
Yeah, it's a lot easier that way. I mean, you shot a couple deer in them last year, didn't you?
Yeah. My son actually got a deer in the last day of rifle season, was wearing the carbines, and he sort of likes playing his phone. So we were sitting in the blind, and it was a solid 3 hours, and it was freezing cold. And he's like, "Dad, I never even noticed that there was the fingers cut off." And Of course, shooting a deer helps with that too. You got a little blood flow in there. So
yeah, I mean, like obviously our slogan or whatever is built to track, but you know, there's use for all the stuff.
Yeah.
Whether you're a sitter, a still hunter, a tracker, everything like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, those are good sitting gloves if you're going to be on your phone, just poking around or doing stuff like that. And I don't mean to sound like super like sales pitchy. Like I don't want to, you know.
Well, I've been bugging you for months to do an episode just about gear because you're not a pushy guy, and I said, you can go to your website and, kind of discover everything about this. But for those of you that listen to the podcast, it's just, it's time to really explain this stuff because it's getting to be deer season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We're a month away. But yeah, no, I'm not trying to be super pushy and stuff like that. Everybody that hunts in the Northeast kind of knows what they like when it comes to gear.
Yeah.
People in the Northeast are super particular. There's a reason why the wool jacket hasn't faded away from the Northeast compared to, out West where there's a lot more synthetics and stuff. So people know what they want. We're just kind of putting better options out there. But yeah, not being too pushy. Just wanted to give everybody an overview of what we got going on. Not trying to shove anything down anybody's throat and stuff like that. The whole idea behind the company was, me using a bunch of different gear over the past few years and figuring out what I liked, what I didn't like, and trying to make things that are more applicable to northern hunters. Because there really isn't, a lot of those big name companies, the Sitkas and stuff like that, which all make great gear. There isn't really a company that builds stuff more specifically for the Northeast. You know what I mean? A lot of it's more Western geared and stuff, and a lot of that stuff gets used over East too. But there's not really a company that's making stuff catered to the northern hunter in the Northeast, tracking, stuff like that. Because as northerners, we like what we like up here. We like the wool. We like all that stuff, and it was time for there to be more options and better options for people to choose from for Northeast catered gear.
Also coming in at a price point that really, does a lot better than like the Sitkas and the First Lights, man. That's all good stuff, but boy, it's so expensive. It's hard for the common guy to be able to afford some of that stuff. So
yeah, it is expensive stuff, but yeah, like you said, super high quality stuff. But yeah, trying to keep the price points more affordable for people. We work 9 to 5 just like everybody else, just trying to, we like to make the most. The less money you got to spend on gear during hunt season, maybe you can take another trip or something, to wherever you want to hunt. But yeah, trying to keep it affordable for you guys, doing the best we can with that. Rolling off of that, we also got, a lot of guys have already ordered the merino beanie. So we came out with a merino beanie that is a little thinner than like a traditional, orange acrylic hat or stuff like that, so you can hear better. We also got one in our green growth color, which is the same color as the gloves. So the gloves, the green growth beanie, and the green growth checker jacket, they're all the same tone green. So it's kind of a cool pattern all the way out through. It's all matching. It's like an earthier tone. So, you get better blendability and stuff compared to like that super bright green that you get on a traditional green and black check jacket, which is good. That's a classic.
Yep.
We just changed it up a little bit with that color tone. So the gloves, the beanie, and that jacket, all that same tone green with the black, blends real good in like the spruces and the firs. That's why it's called the green growth. But yeah, so those beanies, we got the green growth color and the orange, your classic orange, hunter orange.
Got a ton of feedback about the green growth beanies at Hunt Stock. Everybody was loving that pattern. So
yeah, super thin, but very warm, being that it's merino.
Yep.
And it you can hear better if you're moving. Like I typically, when I'm tracking, unless it's like bitterly cold, I'm usually just wearing a ball cap, which we get those too. Which those are nothing too crazy as far as that goes. Yep. But typically wearing a ball cap. But on those real cold days, I'll put a beanie over one of those, and you don't want a super thick beanie rubbing against the hat when you're walking. It's super hard to hear. I mean. Yeah. So we went real thin with those, but they are very warm, and they're wool, so they'll repel water a little bit better. And from there, kind of the crown jewel of everything. Actually, let's talk about the capes for a second, because everybody is asking about the capes before we went live with them. So we have capes, every size, medium to 3XL. A lot of guys have ordered those already, so if you haven't ordered those yet, you can get them on the website. Instead of being a wool cape, we decided to go with a polar fleece. So the reason behind going with a polar fleece for this first year versus, say, a wool cape, like there is some options out there for a wool cape, but they're kind of limited, and there hasn't been a lot of people making capes for the last few years. So it's time to offer that to people, because you see a lot of those guys with beagle jackets that are 10, 15 years old now, and orange is completely faded right off.
It's no good anymore.
So you gotta have a replacement option. There wasn't really a lot out there. That was also, I think this and the carbine gloves were like the first things we worked on when we started the company.
Yep.
But this just gives you an option to cover up an old jacket with the hunter orange, because Maine, you got to have the hunter orange. Massachusetts, you have the hunter. I think New York now too, you got to have the hunter orange.
So, yeah.
Over in the Adirondacks and stuff. But yeah, so that's a polar fleece, super lightweight compared to wool. Very quiet that it's polar fleece, so it's actually quieter than a wool. So if you test it on like a decibel reader, a stick slap against the polar fleece versus the wool, it's super quiet. And it really moves with your body more than a wool. So like if you have a wool jacket and then you throw like, if you have like a 22 ounce wool jacket and you throw like a 20 ounce or 22 ounce wool cape over it, it feels a little stiff, feels a little heavy up here. So with that fleece, it's obviously not as hot because it's, it's not that 20 ounce wool. It's super light, moves with you. So you're not gonna be sweating up too bad. And it moves with you. There's a lot of stretch to it and stuff. So it doesn't feel like you're like a bulky afterthought, which is kind of why we went with that. And, that's got the locking zipper on it too. So there's no rattling and stuff when you're moving around. And
I like the way the bottom cinches down.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Yeah. So the bottom, this is actually from a personal thing. On an old cape I had a Filson one. It was like a cottony one. It wasn't too great, kind of noisy. But that was the only option there was a few years ago, was a Filson one. So what we did with this, on the bottom, right about mid-chest there where it ends, there's an elastic cinch, and there's a small little buckle on each side, right on your ribs there on each side. That doesn't get in the way of your gun or anything. It's tucked right into the cape. But if you want to, you can cinch the bottom right down tight to your jacket. So with that, the old one I had, this one time I was trying to get a shot off, and the gun butt hung on that cape, and you can't get it up, and that deer's gone in a second. So with that cinch, you can lock it down. No gun butt hang. Comes right up. Feels like it's part of your jacket. Doesn't feel like an afterthought. You ain't got to worry about missing any shots like that. And then those, you just press to release the buttons at the end of the day if you want to, or you can just leave it tightened down your jacket.
Yep.
But yeah, so going from there, the jacket, the old crown jewel of kind of everything we've been working on. This is a year of development. A lot of work has gone into the jacket, and we're super happy with how it came out. Very impressed with the functionality of it, the layout, everything from, so obviously the outside is 100% virgin wool in that green and black, green growth checkered color. But the pocket liners and the collar liners and like the zipper sheath and stuff, we worked with our stitcher to develop this material that's in there. It's super soft. It's a moisture wicking material, and that's just around the collar, in the pockets, and then on the crowns of the shoulders, typically where like you're gonna get the most snow and stuff.
Yep.
And that's gonna pull moisture away from bare skin, because there's nothing worse than being in a wool jacket. Say you like push through a bunch of furs, you got snow down your neck on like an old one where the zipper doesn't go all the way up. You snow down your neck, you get the collar flipped up. There's nothing worse than like wet skin with like a rough wool on the outside.
Rough, itchy wool.
Exactly. Yep. So we kind of wanted to eliminate that. And so this is a synthetic material around that collar and then around the shoulders and then the pockets. So it's going to pull water off your neck. It's going to pull water away from the insides of your pockets. So on those real wet days, whether you got a phone in there, GPS, snacks, anything, it's going to pull water away from that. And it's going to keep you a lot more comfortable out there in the woods. And it's just going to keep you more comfortable, a lot softer feeling on your neck and stuff like that. And that's across, like I said, across the crowns of your shoulders. So typically when you're on those wet days, the first thing that's going to soak through is your shoulders and your elbows. And speaking of elbows, we double line the elbows with wool because, that's usually nice. What blows out and keeps it and gets wet fast. But yeah, we line the elbows, line the shoulders, and that'll keep you drier longer.
Double zipper, right? From the top.
Double zipper. Yep. We got a double zipper, so you can on the inside of the bottom. I should pull it out here. On the inside of the jacket, down here at the bottom, there's some internal pockets and stuff that are that material. So if you have stuff, say like an extra pair of gloves, hat, anything, you can tuck those right in there, and you can get in from the bottom and not have to zip all the way down because it's kind of a pain in the ass when you're trying to. You got to practically undress yourself just to get to the inside pockets. So that's. A metal zipper, double zipper. We went with the metal zipper compared to a plastic one because we noticed on plastic ones, and from other manufacturers, they tend not to last as long. You're going to get like where they separate, and there's nothing more frustrating than a zipper that pulls apart. So we went with a heavy duty metal zipper that'll just add to the longevity of the jacket. Yep. So we're super happy with that. And with the zipper like that too. So like I said, we added that moisture wicking poly. We added a sheath all the way down the zipper, So you ain't got to worry about metal zipper on skin or anything like that. It's going to keep it off you. You don't have to worry about the cold and stuff like that.
Talk pockets. I mean, this is where the jacket really sets itself apart.
Yeah, so the pocket and the layout, we really went with a modern approach, try to make it the most functional as possible. Kind of the big newest addition to a wool jacket is we added mag pockets to the chest. Just below the zippered chest pockets, about mid-weight right there. And those will hold all your standard magazines. So Remington, Browning, Ruger, Mossberg, they fit that, and they'll fit traditional muzzleloader speed loaders as well.
Yep.
So those are right there, midway up. You can really get in there. You can reload fast versus digging around in a pocket or digging around in a pack for a mag. Wanted to keep that there. And what we noticed was kind of an added little bonus to this pocket design. So like I run a 7600, you run a 7600. When you have your extra mags in there, so say you're on a track and you're creeping, those mags right there, they almost create like a little shelf.
Oh yeah,
that keeps your gun up on.
It's a nice little.
It's cool.
bonus.
Yeah, we didn't really plan on that, but it just is. It's how it turned out. It keeps like a little shelf right there. You keep your gun up, so when you're creeping, death creeping, you're always right there. You're right into it. And then, I mean, if you don't want to put mags there, you can put, anything. You could put
bag
matches,
of Cheetos
anything.
or something.
Whatever. A bag of Cheetos. Yeah, anything in there you can throw. But yeah, and then just below those centered mag pockets, we got big zippered pockets down at the bottom that are internal with that moisture wicking liner on each side. You can fit.
They go straight too. They're not at a diagonal cut like
Yep.
some wool jackets are, where you can't keep a set of gloves in there because everything you put in there is falling out constantly. So
Yep.
you got the added security of the zipper.
Yep.
In a nice big pocket.
Yeah, it's a big pocket. You can put pretty much anything you really want in there. And yeah, like you said, we got the zipper for the added protection. I think is it the Johnson jackets that most of them aren't zippered.
They got
on
the
that?
diagonal, yeah. I mean,
But they're not really zippered, so stuff
No.
pops out. But you gotta, I don't know, we felt like you gotta have that zipper on there just to keep stuff in if you're really gonna utilize the pocket and put stuff in there without having to worry about it. Going back up, and that's on each side. Big pockets down low. Coming up underneath the cape here is you got two diagonal zippered chest pockets with that liner in it as well. Those are sized to fit, the most recent iPhone, GPS, anything you want in there. It's right there. They're at an angle too, so like on some other jackets, the pockets run perpendicular to the zipper. These kind of run at an angle, so when you're on the track and you're hunting out there, you can get right in there and get right out. You don't have to like come in awkwardly to get your stuff out, and you can put, like I said, if it's an iPhone, all that stuff, you can put some whatever else you want to put in there and have quick access to. That's definitely your quickest access pocket as far as that goes. Those are zippered, so you ain't got to worry about anything spilling out. And then on the back, which is this pocket's been around for a while, but more recently there hasn't been a lot of options with it. We got a game pouch on the back. It's 14 inches long. It's 12 inches high, so it's about the size of a traditional, fanny pack, but you don't have to worry about it, flopping around like a fanny pack and stuff like that. And that's zippered from both sides with a metal zipper, and it's all the way through. So you can get in either side, wherever you're at, get in, get out, stuff like that.
I don't know about you, but we're running a fanny pack is, by the end of the day, your hips hurt. You're hiking up your britches every 5 seconds. That's so much better as far as being able to travel and not have to pull your pants up every 2 seconds.
Yeah, like you said, the buckle and the straps on fannies kind of especially if they're a floppy pack. Yeah, there's nothing worse than a floppy fanny pack slapping off your ass all day. So with this, if you're a super lightweight guy like me, like I typically I'll throw a pair of gloves in there and like a pack of crackers, and that's it. That's typically all I bring. And then I'll have to have a flashlight.
Drag rope and a sling.
Perfect spot for that. Yep. Yeah, just the essentials, whatever.
Yep.
If you're a minimalist like me, throw a couple things in there and keep going. But yeah, zipper each side, get in there, get out. Pretty water resistant with that liner and then the wool outer shell. So we're super happy with that, how that turned out. And
now, did you say that these are going to actually eventually you can put a wool cape on them?
Yeah, so all the jackets that are ordered come with a standard wool cape, and they'll be buttoned on as well. So like right now, I've got it on here with the fleece ones, but they do come with a wool cape if you're into that. Yep. But for me, like I said before, I really like the fleece cape. It moves better with you. It's lighter weight and doesn't retain any extra heat. So that's kind of why I have this one set up for me right here, just for that lightweight purpose. So
love the neck too. I mean, the neck. Nobody's doing this with the neck. Right
Good point. Yeah,
being able to zip that right up on the cold days to keep the snow from going down your neck, and You can fold it down like the regular wool, like a wool Johnson jacket, but they've all got these huge collars on them that are kind of useless. So everything on this jacket has a purpose, you know?
Yeah, no, we try to be as thoughtful as we could with everything. Like you said, it zips all the way up. So kind of the reason behind that is I ran a big build jacket last year, which is, it's a good low cost option. I think Johnson's still just a standard collar, and whatever else is out there is just a standard collar. So there's not a wool jacket out there right now other than some older Columbia ones that, zip all the way up and really pull tight to your neck. So on those real snowy days when you're pushing through all the furs and stuff, you're just going to keep that snow from getting down your neck, which is not fun, as everybody knows.
Yep.
So that's kind of why we did that. But yeah, like you said, it'll lay flat like a traditional collar. So it's parted all on that seam, lay flat right on your cape, and stay out of your way if you don't want it. But if you need that to zip all the way up to keep it, keep the snow out, you can do that with that. And that zips all the way up, pull it all the way tight.
Can't wait to test them out this fall. I'm really excited.
I can't wait to see you guys out there with them. We sold most of the pre-orders on them right now, which the pre-orders will be shipping about October 10th for those that ordered those. And then we have the secondary batch that's coming for, just general inventory for stock for that guys can get, same day shipping and stuff. Those will be ready right around the beginning of the season.
Yep.
So the pre-order guys, you guys are in good shape. We'll get them to you for the season. And then if you guys decide you want one after that, we'll have them in stock. All the sizes, small through 3XL. So we got plenty of them coming. Super excited to get them out there on you guys because, I might be a little biased, but I feel, it's like the most, innovative, I feel, in modern design wool jacket out there. It combines a lot of the modern, layout features, some of the modern fabrics, like I said, around the collar and stuff, with that old school reliability of a wool jacket. It's a 22-ounce wool jacket, super tight weave, repels water really good in that green growth check color. So we're super happy with it. Can't wait to see it out there, and I think it's gonna be a game changer in the wool jacket game. So those pre-orders, they'll be coming to you soon, and the rest will be coming after that. And
too early to talk next year, or no?
I mean, we can dabble a little bit about next year, some stuff we got coming for it.
Just heard rumor about a couple different colors.
Yeah, so next year we work with a really good mill. They're really receptive of the needs of hunters and the wants as far as the color patterns and stuff. So we're super happy to be working with them. And we got, like you said, we got some colors in the work for next year. I don't want to drop too much information, but working on some camo colors like the old Beagles and stuff and maybe a little snow camo in there too. We'll see what happens. We got to get these ones out there. And
well, I've been running my Beagle for 13 years. It takes a hell of a jacket to make me hang that thing up, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, you've shot a lot of deer in that jacket.
You could throw a cat through it right now. It's so holy and worn out.
Yep.
I mean, but it's just testing these out. It's just there's it's onward and upward. So they're really impressive. So
you're not the only guy that's got the whole Beagle thing like that. I've had more guys send us a message off the website, be like, "Hey, I've been waiting for something new since the Beagle. I've been wearing this Beagle for 15 years, so I'm super excited to try it out." And a lot of the design features and stuff are based. There's some similarities between the old Beagle and stuff as far as the fabric weight, the fabric feel. Yeah, it's like that Beagle as far as the water, the way it repels water, and the knit and stuff like that. So we're super happy with that. And
hunters are superstitious too. I mean, you if you have luck with something, like I'm running these old Carhartt gloves, and they're good unless it's cold or wet, which is the two reasons you wear gloves. But I mean, it's just superstitious, and it takes So trying those fingerless gloves out, I mean, I was really kind of at first I was like didn't want to like them, but I ended up really liking them, and now the Carhartts are gonna sit in the closet this year as well. So
you've been dabbling a little bit with the fingerless for bear hunting, haven't you, so far?
Definitely, cool ones. Warm, and especially they're good on the hot nights too. I didn't notice my hands sweating, and then they're pretty much. I'm gonna run them through bow season, through bear, bird hunting, all that, and then I'm definitely gonna carry them with me come November as well. But I'm gonna have those carbines on deck as well too if it starts getting a little colder. So
yeah, that's definitely our cold weather glove. The carbines, I wear them a lot, so my hands kind of regulate pretty good. I know some guys' hands stay cold all the time. Some guys don't wear gloves at all, even in a snowstorm. Mine are kind of in that in between. They regulate pretty good. So I ran those carbine gloves most of the season, bare ground through snow. I feel like, they regulated pretty good as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was super happy with them, and then you sold them on me on stock, you bastard. No, I'm just kidding.
If you're that guy, then can you please
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll pay double.
But yeah, so all the gloves, those are all available right now. Hats, beanies, capes, those are all available. And pre-order jackets, there's a couple spots left for pre-order jackets.
Yep.
At the time this releases, I'm not sure if there will be.
They've
Most
been
of them are
flying
sold
off
out.
the shelf.
But the main stock's coming after that for the next batch, and they'll be all available and ready to go. And then the price point on those jackets, I don't know if we talked about, like our other stuff, trying to keep it affordable. We priced those at $220, and that's pretty reasonable as far as the market goes.
Yep.
Trying to keep it affordable and not be greedy with it, because there's a lot of those companies out there nowadays that are charging upwards of $400 for a wool jacket, and that's a tough pill to swallow there for that.
Yeah.
So we try to avoid that and keep it affordable and
Yep.
keep it light. But yeah. So that pretty much wraps up as far as the gear stuff goes. We get a lot of stuff coming next year, more designs and stuff we're super excited about. But for the most part, we got the jacket, the cape, the glove system, hats, beanies, stuff like that. That's our product line for 2022. We're excited about it, happy with how it came out. And if you guys have any questions at all about the gear, the designs, everything, whatever you need, reach out to us on Instagram, reach out to us on our website, www.staggergear.com. We're, try to be as receptive as we can, get back to you as soon as possible. And, if you have any questions, we're here for you. So now that we got the gear out of the way, you want to talk some plans for the 2022
Talk some fun stuff?
deer season? Yeah, the fun stuff.
Well, what do you got going? What's your what's your initial strategy going to be?
Initial strategy. So, we got bow kicking off here in Vermont October 1st. I haven't bought a New Hampshire bow tag yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to be. It's been busy with, everything we got going on right now and work and stuff. So I'm not sure if I'll have a New Hampshire bow tag, but October 1st, bow season kicks off here. Me and my good buddy Grant, we got a plan for bow season. We got some bucks we want to chase around here, and stuff like that. Maybe might take a little special trip south for bow season before mid-October, down southern New England way. I haven't decided yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, November 1st rolls around, end of October, probably start with New Hampshire muzzleloader, stuff like that. We got some deer we want to chase around over there. And then probably roll into Maine, pray for some snow this year.
Yeah.
I think we're way overdue for an actual snowy year. It kind of, the last 3 years have been brutal. It hasn't had anything until muzzleloader season. Last year was no snow in Maine until the absolute last day of the season, and then muzzleloader wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm. Didn't take you long, though. You went up to Maine that last day and you had a buck in your sights, but you
not
didn't
the
shoot
right
it.
one though. But we had more snow in Vermont last year than we did in Maine, because I shipped it home that second week, got my buck on snow that first week of Vermont rifle, the 16th I think it was.
Yep.
We had snow up high, but there wasn't anything in Maine, so I had to ship it back here and stuff. But as far as this year goes, just gonna keep it flowing. Bounce around, try to chase snow when we can. And as far as the living situation, like last year I slept in my truck some. This year we got a better setup. Be doing some tent camping out of my truck, bouncing around from Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, some Massachusetts, and maybe some southern stuff. I'd like to make it over the Adirondacks, but it's a pretty full plate right there as of right now. But we'll see. Wherever the snow flies, we'll be heading there.
If you're in the Adirondacks, that means things went pretty damn good everywhere else.
If we make it over the Adirondacks, then things have been going good. But we're gonna keep it mobile, chase snow, get the old tent camper set up, and all the while we're gonna be recording a lot of video and stuff this year. So we all got good camera gear come in, or we already have it in.
Yep.
We got a group of guys that we're gonna be working with, making content and stuff like that. So try to make the most applicable tracking content for you guys. A lot of fun stuff coming, so we're super excited about it.
Sure.
What about you? What do you got going?
So doing a little bird hunting, a little bear hunting till bow starts. Once bow starts, pretty much just hunting behind my house with my father-in-law and my dad. Nothing really to speak up for big bucks there, but it'd be nice to maybe get a doe and get the freezer going. But the name of the game for me this year is just going to be try to be flexible.
Same deal.
I've been going to Maine since 2004, and every year it's like you plan that week 6 months ahead of time, and then you get there and there's no snow. So trying to to just stay flexible and go with the weather this year to try to up my odds of being able to actually track, you know, because it's just been so. And plus, I always go to Eastern Maine, like up in Aroostook County and like up in the Holton area, and there just seems to be not a lot of topography up there, and not a lot of snow as compared to Western Maine. So, gonna kind of swing it over that way this year, and we've been doing a little scouting up in Maine.
Yeah,
we've got a couple of
around.
big ones located. I mean, it's just a matter of if the weather cooperates, really. But
yeah, I mean, you get snow and there's some. Yeah, we've been chasing a couple bucks around in this one big piece up in Western Maine there, and we've had cameras up there since May, and actually got them on camera and stuff. So it's glad to see they made it through the winter. And obviously, in your big woods hunting, you don't know. You could those deer move around so much, but it's cool to see them though. You know, it's cool to see 200+ pound deer, you know, on camera and stuff bouncing around.
When there's no snow, I mean, I'll probably be sitting on a scrape line for the most part, and it's nice to know they're in a zip code at least. You know?
Yeah,
keeps you coming back day after day.
We've had cameras on scrapes up there, year-round scrapes, and it's pretty funny how active those scrapes are year-round. And those big Maine bucks, they're coming back even when they got little velvet nubs on them. It's cool to see them grow all the way up through, hitting that scrape all through summer and stuff. But
for sure,
excited about it. Yeah, the name of the game though is staying mobile. I mean, we might get ourselves something rented for a week or two up in Maine if we get some good weather coming. We got a few Airbnbs we're looking at, so it'd be nice. It's nice to have that base camp because I mean, even if when you're living out of your truck, so I did it last year. I've talked about in other podcasts. When you're living out of your truck for a week, it gets it gets tough as far as like drying gear out.
For sure.
Trying to get some work done. It's kind of hard to edit in your truck and stuff like that.
Drying your gear is the name. Like if you can't do that, then you're just gonna be miserable the next day.
You need dry heat. You know, you need dry heat to dry stuff out. So on those real snowy, wet days, it'd be nice to have a base camp to go back to in Maine. But yeah, we've been looking around. We'll probably do that at some point, a week or two.
You've been to New Hampshire scouting at all?
A little bit early in the season. Got some stuff that I want to go back and check. New Hampshire's a special place, man. I'm excited. Yeah, definitely excited to hunt there this year. A lot of great bucks kicking around over there.
I was after an absolute giant over there last year, and I think he made it through the winter. I haven't got any pictures since this spring, but I had one with huge bases coming off its head, and I'm hoping it's him. But I got an itchy trigger finger last year and shot the first buck that came by, which you'll if you follow me, you're gonna see that's a recurring problem. But I'm gonna try to do better this year. Yeah,
when was that picture of him with just his base? That was end of April.
Yeah,
and he already had massive bases already.
Pre-turkey hunting.
I mean that deer. The pictures that you had of him last year. That's a 160 inch plus. I bet at least 160. Which is insane. Maybe even more than that. I don't really know. So it's crazy how big that deer is. So you're being bashful with a big one.
His name's Gandalf.
Yeah, named him Gandalf.
Because I'm an absolute goddamn nerd.
He'll start. I mean, if they're going to start showing up with this cold front and stuff we got coming through now and the weather changing, he'll start popping back up.
Yeah, I'm kind of into the does. So, I mean, if you find the does, they're going to be there first, second, third week of November. So.
Is that like where you're hunting him? I know it's a big woods piece, but is that a lot of acorns in that chunk? Is that what
So last year it was absolutely covered in acorns. You couldn't take a step without, almost rolling your ankle in them. But this year there still is acorns, but it's nowhere near what it was last year. So that might actually be a good thing because they might be more concentrated where there actually is trees. Yep. So
have you located like groups of trees and stuff where they're dropping?
Yep, been up there. Beaches not so much this year. Last year was kind of a really good beach and acorn year, but this year it's definitely not as much forage in the woods as it was last year. But good apple year though, as far as for bow season.
Seems like there's a lot of apples kicking around. Yeah, I've seen a lot of deer hanging out under apple trees and stuff so far this year.
Yeah, but no, I think we're both just really excited for Maine. We're gonna put kind of all our eggs in that basket this year.
Yeah, definitely start New Hampshire though. I mean, when we can before the snow starts flying Maine. But yeah, I'm super excited to get back up to Maine. Those deer we've been chasing around for a couple of years up there. Yeah. The one I shot at last year, he's still in there. It's
do I want to tell him what happened last year with me? You invited me
up.
Oh,
no. Yeah, you might as well hit him with that.
He invited me up. He sat me on a scrape, and I sat there in the morning. Then we kind of did some quasi pushes to each other, and we saw some does. And
this is like bare ground potato chip hunting.
Chip
so
hunting.
Dry, like brutally brutal. But he came up for a day. And just keep going.
And so then it's afternoon. It's time to settle back down, and he's like, "Go sit back on that scrape." And I'm like, "We kind of been in that woods pounding it all day, and I I kind of wanted to get to my buddy Matt's camp, and I wanted to do some, kind of checking out some areas, see some partridge and see some moose and stuff like that. So I took off. Well, when we pulled the memory card, that friggin' buck was in there right at I mean, it was gonna be close. If it was last light, we could have got a shot at him, but it was just a massive 4-pointer.
Yeah, which we've talked about a lot. He's a special deer. I'd like to see him this year again.
He's friggin' awesome, and he was well over 200 pounds, and this was getting towards the end of November.
Yep.
So,
and he's still alive this year.
And he's alive right now. So,
and I laid my eyes on him once last year, and that's when he was fighting the one that I missed. So, yeah, so I could lay eyes on him once, but he's still. It's pretty funny how that buck is such a homebody to that piece for big woods. He's got this like one area locked in, and he's like the king in there.
I fell in love with him the minute I saw him, just because he's weird. He's a weirdo, He's like huge horns, but just a 4-pointer.
Yeah, if you're listening, we'll post a picture on the Instagram page for Stagger Cast of that deer because he's so cool to look at.
You should do the picture of me blowing on my grunt call that morning, and then the picture of the buck, and then just say what an idiot. But anyways, I had a good time at Matt's camp that night, so.
Yeah, you didn't get to hunt Maine much before that. You were kind of tied up last year. You had some stuff going on, so you had to.
My father-in-law got a moose permit in Maine, so we were actually up in Zone 4 for that cow hunt, and it kind of wore out all my kitchen passes for the moose hunt. So I kind of had to stick closer to home come the end of the season, but had a good year though. Got a few deer, but
you got a New Hampshire buck, Vermont buck.
Yeah, and
helped a bunch of other people get deer too. Yeah, you did your.
Yeah, it was an awesome year. It was really a good family year. My dad got a deer. My niece's boyfriend got a deer. My son got a deer. We were kicking butt. We just weren't really getting the quality, but that's for this year hopefully. So
yeah, you made the most of it when you could.
Yep.
I mean, how many deer? Even though you only got to come up with me there in Western Maine for what was that, 3/4 of a day? We saw quite a few deer that we saw. What, 6 deer that day?
He pushed a little island piece to me, and right as he goes in there, this big doe comes out. I mean, she looked like a donkey, and she's running across the swale grass in front of me, and then all of a sudden I heard another, like a twig snap, and I'm like, oh my God, here comes her boyfriend. And then the little fawn came out, but it was really cool because you just don't see deer in Maine like that all the time, and we really got into them that day. So
yeah, we made the most of it. But yeah, who knows if he would have got. He was coming in right at last light, but it would have been last minute.
Yeah,
I mean, hard to say, but such a cool buck. But
yeah, for sure.
I hope we can get that buck this year and really lay out the story of that deer.
Oh yeah,
he's like a staple piece of that part of Maine for us now.
Yeah.
What's the name we gave him?
I think his name's Big Sexy, isn't it? Not to be confused with Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick, yeah, that's another.
He's a really nice 8 that's in there too. He's
pretty funny naming big woods deer.
It's just fun to name deer stupid friggin' names.
Yeah, and, you got what? You got Gandalf.
Yeah.
The big sexy.
Yeah.
You got Top Gun Maverick.
I had Blippy last year.
Blippy.
Big wide 8.
You got Tripod.
Yeah.
That's another one in Vermont.
We had Suge Knight a few years ago.
Suge Knight.
My buddy got him.
That's a giant Vermont deer.
Yep. So I don't know. It's just the dumber
you come up with the best names for deer, I swear to God.
Oh yeah. So
if you're gonna see Greg this year on camera, Greg's one of the funniest guys when you get him going, especially when it comes to hunting and stuff. So be looking out for Greg's content this year because he's got a camera, he's got a GoPro, he's got it all. So you'll be recording. I can't wait to see some crazy stuff in the woods. So.
I've been creating a lot of good content already, but Adam's rejected most of it. So
yeah.
I have a pretty cool mushroom video that is just falling on deaf ears.
So. No, I can't wait to see some deer hunting content.
Definitely, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And we're kind of going to collectively post stuff on the Stagger YouTube page. So if you're not subscribed on there, definitely subscribe to that. That's where all the podcasts go, as you guys probably know. But a lot of deer hunting videos coming this year.
Yep.
And as far as content goes, I think this year there's going to be more Northeast content than ever before. It's like the amount of people that are getting into the YouTube thing. Isaac's been doing it for a few years. Isaac's got a great following on there now too. The Northwoods Whitetails guys, they have a YouTube channel, and I know they've got like 3 years of recorded hunts and stuff that they're going to be dropping soon. So be listening or be checked in for that. Subscribe to their channel. They got a lot of awesome stuff, and they're working with a lot of good guys. They got videographers and stuff like that, so they'll be dropping some crazy content. I know they just posted they put it out there. It's not available yet, but Dustin Martin's buck from last year, which was all on video, his muzzleloader buck. So really excited to see that. And I know they got other stuff coming. And Isaac's doing a lot of video work with them. They have Connor, who we've had on the podcast, and a lot of the guys we've had on the podcast are part of the Northwoods crew. So be subscribed to them. Our buddies Beyond the Boundaries, they got content coming. Ian and Dawson and their little group there.
I've been watching a steady diet of Beyond the Boundaries because they're trapping boys like me. So they're really like, I've kind of on the weekends I have my coffee and watch Beyond the Boundaries, and I think they got a lot of good stuff coming too. So
they got a good blend of stuff. I know they drew 2 moose tags, so they'll have some. And Ian's a dialed shed hunter, so he knows a lot of areas where those big bulls are kicking around. So it'd be really cool to see their content this year. Moose, deer, trapping. I'm sure there'll be some bird hunt stuff on there too. It's a real good blend of stuff from Maine.
Mountain deer's gonna bring the heat too.
They always do. Yeah. Looking forward to that. They'll be kicking off here again soon, dropping content and podcasts. I imagine they're always fun to listen to and watch and stuff. They've really set the standard as far as quality YouTube content. I think in the recent years, quality YouTube content for Northeast stuff. They're
tracking 200 too.
Jeff Doyle, Jeff will have and he just dropped a cool video about his pack there, which is pretty cool. I know there'll be a lot of guys doing that, and so we see a lot of that camera angle this year, which is, in my opinion, I think that's my favorite angle to watch. Tracking on, Jeff's channel, he'll have a whole bunch of stuff. He's part of the Northwoods crew as well. If you're into like southern New England bow hunting stuff, the guys next to us at Huntstock, Rhode Island Whitetails, they've got a lot of great content that's already on their YouTube page, bow hunting in Rhode Island and stuff. They're very good at it. They got quality cameras. You get a lot of the shots and all the details and stuff like that. So if you're into that bow hunting stuff, southern New England, check them out. I've been talking to Ryan from them. They're thinking of taking a trip up maybe during rifle season or muzzleloader and coming hunting up this way. Be something new.
Nice.
Be pretty cool. Nice. But a lot of great content coming this year from us and from all the guys around New England and around the Northeast. So be subscribed to all those channels and stuff like that. But
it's all good, man. It's starting to and it's going to be really cold this weekend, and
there's a chance of snow tonight when this is recorded. So this is September 22nd. Up high, I think there's a chance of snow on the peaks tonight, which is crazy.
You'll be up there rooting around tonight. I already know.
Fly the drone. Yeah, so I just got a drone. We'll be flying the drone up there.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about that. That drone is crazy.
I can't wait to get some some good content with the drone.
And all that stuff. But outside of that, you want to pop a couple deer stories off and then kind of wrap it up from there.
Which one you want me to tell you? I mean,
you just had a little published piece in the Sportsman. What is it?
Maine Sportsman
Journal. So Greg does a little bit of writing, and if you haven't been on the content page on our website, the STAGR Gear website, Greg writes little articles and blogs and stuff on there. But your story that is on the website as well just got published in the Sportsman Journal there.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell a little bit about that? I know that's the title of the story is what? I almost got my patch.
I almost got my patch buck. Yeah.
Your main buck that went in just under 200. But for those that haven't read it, why don't you give us the whole story and talk about that? Yeah.
So the version in the Maine Sportsman is 6 pages shorter than the one that's on your website. So all the I had a lot of good photos with it too. But I'm pretty happy that it made it in there, and it's kind of hopefully I can write a follow-up this year that says how I did get my patch buck. But no, that was a few years back over in eastern Maine. One of those years where there's no snow, which was pretty much every year up there. I think in the over 10 years we went there, we've only had like a handful of good tracking days. But that year was really dry, crackly. You just kind of walking around in the woods hoping to stumble on one. Well, it was midweek. I was checking out this really old cut, and I was in pretty nice hardwoods, and I found, I kept finding really good tracks and kind of just blundering through the woods. Well, I got to the edge of that cut, and I heard this deer take off, and I looked up to my right, and in the little Christmas trees, I just saw a freaking rack go over the bank, like a rocking chair rack, huge. And so he must have watched me walk right up, and then one bound and he was gone. So that was near the end of the day. So the next day I had plans of going back in there and kind of working the area. So I wake up the next day. It's pouring rain. Like, perfect. I can get in there and sneak around. Well, I went to, the kind of where I had gone in the day before, and wouldn't you know it, there's another hunter parked there. So
gotta love that.
Like, what are the odds? There's like 30 miles of road, and that's the one place I wanted to go in. But so I kind of got a little pissy, and then hopped in the rig with my father-in-law, and I said, well, let's just we'd had a moose permit up there the year before, and we kind of had an area up on paper company land where we'd seen a lot of good buck tracks. So I said, well, let's go up there and just kind of ride around and see, and maybe I'll hop in the woods up there. So rode around. We're like 27 miles up on Irving paper company land, going down a road where we had got the moose the year before. And my father-in-law's the passenger, and he goes, stop. I think I see a deer. And so I'm like, cool. So I stopped. We backed up a little bit, and there's sure as shit, there's a doe looking right at us. So I kind of was, looking at the GPS, and I'm like, yeah. I said, Jesus, they're in here, and we've been seeing tracks on the road. And I was like, well, why don't you drop me off like a mile down the road, and I'm gonna do a big loop up and kind of come up where she was. So he dropped me off. I got in there. Of course, the deal in Maine is, anybody that's hunted dry ground in Maine, when you're tracking, the deer tend to take you through the areas where you can actually move and walk. But when you're on dry ground, you get yourself right into a hellhole before you know it. So that's what I did. I fought through this little cedar bog, and I just kept trying to gain elevation, and I got into some really nice woods and got on a big moose trail, and there was more deer tracks in the moose trail than there was moose tracks. So I was pretty pumped up, and kept going, was seeing a lot of deer sign. Come up over the bank, and there's a fawn standing there 50 yards away. So and snuck right up on it. It was just a nice light rain. So watched her for a few minutes, and kept working my way up the trail, and I'm getting to where I'm like probably a quarter mile from getting back onto the logging road, and I come up around the corner, and there's this blowdown, and I see this freaking deer laying there, and I'm like probably 75 yards from it. Put the scope, click the safety off, get the gun up, and I couldn't freaking believe what I was seeing. It was this massive freaking looking deer with all I could see was this huge main beam coming off. And I'm like, holy shit. And I have nothing to like steady myself. So I'm standing in the middle of, nothingness, trying to aim at this deer, and it's laying down, and the deer, I don't know if it had his eyes closed, but I just kind of remember that. It looked like it was just in a heavy sleep. It had no idea I was there, and I had all the time in the world. So a couple times I caught myself like, don't yank that trigger, take your time. So I got as steady as I could on it, and this all happened within probably 10 seconds. And snap the trigger. Of course it's raining, so smoke fills the air, and I see this flag take off. So I rack another shell in, and I kind of run up like 30 yards, and in the open hardwoods I could just see this tail flickering back and forth, and I'm on it, and I'm on it, and I'm on it, and I'm like, God, I'm gonna shoot again. And then something made me just look down, and when I looked down, like 5 yards away was the buck. It was laying in its bed, dead. Right up, huh? Never got out of its bed, laying there motionless, never kicked nothing. And I was like, holy crap, this is a real buck right here. This is bigger than anything I've ever shot before. So yep. It ended up being a 5-pointer, really nice. Like it had the
big wide frame, right?
Big wide frame of a trophy Maine buck, but it just didn't have any points to speak of.
Maine deer,
yeah. So I was pretty convinced I had my patch buck, which has always been a goal of mine, is to get that biggest bucks in Maine patch. So went out, got my father-in-law, came back in, took a bunch of pictures, dressed it out like thoroughly. Like I'm like, I don't want any questions.
Cleaned everything.
Yeah. So did a really good job of cleaning it, which I later.
Everything.
Yeah, and then got it out of the woods, and I think we had it reported by 10, 11 o'clock. Well, we pull into the reporting station, and it goes up on the scales, and it's 170, 180, 190, 191, 192, 193, 94, and 95. I'm like, oh shit. So I was 5 pounds off, which at the time I couldn't have cared less, because I was like, I'm going to do this every year. Yeah. Well, it doesn't happen like that every year, but so 5 pounds from getting my patch buck, but I was really thankful to get it. And
what week was that in the season?
That was the first week of the season.
First week,
so,
okay.
Yep, and I ended up getting that deer mounted. I took it to actually Rodney at Mountain Deer Taxidermy, and they aged it. It was 4.5-year-old buck. And they just said, I think it was Teresa just said, it could have had a hard winter, could have just not had the genetics, but and then I found out from a bunch of other people, maybe I gutted it a little too good. I could have maybe found 5 pounds in there, but my buddy Matt got a 199 pounder up there. So I feel for him way more than I do for myself.
Stories every year, someone getting a 199 up there.
Oh, yeah.
I just missed it, but I mean, that's a great buck.
Oh yeah, for sure. So it was
your head on that one.
Yeah, it was an awesome hunt. I've had more exciting hunts on snow up there, but they've always come up short,
Yeah, that's where it goes.
But how about you? You got a good tracking story?
Yeah, kind of before. What brought you guys to Eastern Maine? Now you're hunting Western now, but what did get you?
Yeah, so Eastern Maine. So my uncle Randy bought a little piece of land up there in the early 2000s, and he had just a pop-up camper. So the first year I went up there, we were in a pop-up camper, absolutely freezing our butts off and loving every minute of it, because that was before they had the hard winters up there, and it was big bucks around every tree. I remember the first day we ever had snow up there. We both went out, and it was just there was nobody up there hunting. It was choose the buck you wanted to track. I got on a monster track. I followed it all day until I lost the snow. The most memorable thing about that was I was up on top of this mountain. I came down into this old apple orchard, and there was deer beds everywhere. And the buck I was tracking, you could see where his antlers hit the snow right in front of a bed. It drove another deer out of its bed with its antlers. So that was just incredible, and didn't end up getting him. Lost snow. My uncle actually missed a huge buck that same day. And
what was the story? Did you say? You come back to the camper and what did you say? Time to drink or something?
I showed up to camp. My uncle Randy's an absolute nut. He's a hunting nut, but he's just a nut. And he pulls into camp and he has this big jug of liquor. I don't know what it was, and I'm I run out of the camper and I'm you got one? He's no, but I missed one. And I was okay, we're going to drink tonight. So we dipped into that a little bit, and we made a plan for the next day. Of course, the next day there's no snow, but I'm I'm going back up in that apple orchard. I mean, that thing was covered in, there was so many apples up there. They were all rotten, and you roll your ankle if you walk through that orchard.
You don't
in the
see
dark.
a lot of apple orchards like that in the woods of Maine. That's pretty funny.
So that buck I was tracking the day before was rubbing these, they were little yellow birches. And I had it in my head, he had a yellow rack, right? So I'm in there blowing on my grunt call, and it's 7:30 in the morning, and I hear this grunting coming up behind me, and I'm sitting on the ground, and all of a sudden I see this deer coming, and I see a flash of yellow above its head, and I'm that's him. So when he came out in the opening, I let him have it, and it turns out it was a nice yellow rack spike horn, but
hey,
whatever. So anyways,
hey,
but we always love it up there. We see 30-40 moose in a week. We see a lot of partridge, but it's really hard deer hunting. It's really flat. And
you went up there. Did you go up there last year you were up moose hunting up Moosehead up that way, right?
Yeah.
You guys smacked some birds up there too, didn't you?
The birds were incredible up there last year. Yeah, we got our moose the first day, and we were going to stay and bird hunt, but we thought, we should get the hell out of that zone and let the moose hunters, nobody wants partridge hunters when you're trying to kill a moose. So we got out of there. But instead of usually you see 1 or 2 birds at a time, there was flocks of 10.
Last year was tough where I was. There wasn't a lot of birds at all last year in there. But hopefully this year they'll bounce back.
I'd prefer there was no birds because it just distracts you from deer hunting, because it's so
fun.
Much fun partridge hunting.
They're a lot of fun to chase around, whether you're riding around or just seeing them in the woods and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But there's always something to see up there, whether it be a moose or a bird or something on the road. It seems like if you're cruising around. Didn't your uncle? What did he describe the deer he missed? Was it?
He said, so he was using this 30-30 lever, this old piece of crap. And he said he tracked it on snow. He'd never heard of tracking. I don't know. He was living under a rock or something. But I was no, you get on this big buck track and you follow it until you see it, and then you shoot it.
Yeah.
So anyways, he tried it that day, and lo and behold, the first deer he follows, he was in these thick ass whips, and he said when the buck stood up, he goes, it looked like a Clydesdale horse. It took a minute to get chugging and going, but he said it had a rocking chair set of antlers, and he emptied his gun and never touched it. And
he came home and drank on it in celebration.
He's a better man than me. I wouldn't have been celebrating, but
did you get one? Nah.
No, but I missed one.
I'm drinking.
So
that's funny.
But what a day! I mean, that was just incredible.
That was early on in your Maine hunting. I mean, you've been hunting Maine for almost 20 years now, haven't you?
Yeah, started in 2004. Actually, went up there the first time with your dad.
Yeah,
and
both got deer then.
We both got deer.
That was your first year, huh? And
then
after that, you went east.
Yeah,
because that was north more.
Yeah, after that we went east, and we've been east ever since. And the last 2 years are the first time we've ever really dabbled over west, but definitely a lot more mountains and better woods over on the western side. So
yeah, I mean, all of Maine's good. All of Maine's fun to hunt. It's I think Rodney said it best there. He's like, "What? We were driving all the way up 9 hours north when you're driving through 6 hours of good deer hunting country." That's kind of the way I looked at it and went about it. But I mean, to each your own. You hunt where you want to hunt and stuff, and all of Maine has. I mean, some of those down east bucks that people shoot are freaks. They're racks and stuff, and it's crazy. It's pretty cool.
For sure.
But I've just been dabbling in Western for the last couple of years, and you kind of joined me there too. But yeah, I mean,
tell me about that 9-pointer. That was a good tracking story.
Yeah, I can give you. I don't think I've talked about that one on the pod yet, but that would have been 2017 or 2018. It was one of the most fun I've had tracking. One of the most rewarding bucks that I've tracked and killed. But yeah, 2017 Vermont buck, and I have that buck, man. I don't have it here. He's at the office. But 9-point buck. Tracking. So that night before it was, so that was the second week of the season, and there wasn't much snow. I think that was like the 21st or the 22nd. So like mid-second week of the Vermont season, and we got some snow coming in that night. It was supposed to start dumping at like 10 p.m. and end at like 3 or 4 in the morning. So like just about perfect. A lot of snow, like I think 3 to 6 inches down low, so plenty up high and stuff. So that night going to bed, I was fired up. I was like, it's been bare ground all season long. It's been a tough go of it. I think I actually, so the day before that, I missed one. It was just a basket rack, nothing too crazy, but it was that getting late in the season, and so I missed a basket rack at like 50 yards wide open through like big softwoods, and I was pissed off.
I remember that.
So I had those with my gun then, 50 yards broadside, nothing. Didn't even touch it, took off, whatever. I was like, I was pissed off, but snow coming the next night, so I'm like, all right, we're gonna go get one tomorrow, no big deal or whatever. So the next day, I actually took my dad's gun, which he has a 7600 with a Trigicon AccuPoint on it, which I've talked about before. Great scope. Anyway, so snow stops at like 4 a.m. that morning. I get up there about first daylight, 6:45, 7, and immediately there's like it's a road in there. It's a state forest access road to a trailhead, and going in, there's already like 3-4 sets of doe tracks crossing the road, and just no bucks crossing the road. And typically you're not going to take a track crossing a road right there, but it's just cool to see the deer up moving on their feet and stuff. And there wasn't stone at all at that point. So going in, there's doe tracks coming across the road. I get up to the trailhead, I park, I start heading up, and there's some trails down low that you can get access on, and take the first right trail off the main trail there. And immediately it's just everything is tore up down low. And let me preface this by saying, I think it was 2017 was like the biggest massed crop of beech nuts. And for those that hunt like the northern spine of the Green Mountains, like central to north, that there's not a lot of cutting until you get up to like the Northeast Kingdom. But like in my area, state forest, there's like no cutting, right? So the deer are so heavily reliant on those mass crop years and stuff, and it kind of dictates how many deer are going to be in a block of state forest.
Yep.
And that year there was a huge mass crop. So pull off the trail, everything's tore up. You know how it looks when everything gets tore up, and digging for beech nuts. And so I'm kind of looking around this area that's all torn up. There's doe tracks all over, and snow's only been stopped for 3 hours, and it's smoking fresh. Everything's tore up.
Fresh, yeah.
So I kind of do a big loop, and this is probably like a 40 yard like square area where there's been a pile of deer just digging. And I find this one track going out of this big mess, and it's a big track. It's one of the bigger ones I've seen, because a lot of the deer in there, they don't have the biggest feet, but this one stood out, had a real good hoof on it, big square hoof, and that was going right back up the mountain. So typically, from my experience in there's a lot of those bucks are hanging up high, and a lot of the does hang down lower, in the valleys and in the basin, picking those beech nuts and stuff. And then the bucks will come down at night during the rut, try to get the does going, and then chase them up and bring them back up with them, and then they'll head up, around daylight and stuff. It seems like, not always, but that's kind of what it seems like. So I get on that track, and it stands out, and it's the last. So there's like a herd of does going, and it's the last track. So it's the biggest track on this trail. So you couldn't miss it. So this buck's following. I think it was probably 3 or 4 does. He's heading up the mountain and zigzagging all over the place, and all the way slabbing up the side of this mountain, just kind of moseying around, and then all of a sudden there's like another big shelf up there. They get up on the shelf, and it's the same thing. It's like a 40-yard like big square stretch, just completely torn up. And you get in those situations where it's like a barnyard, it can get frustrating real fast trying to figure out where those deer left, because there's deer tracks just piling off every direction, left, right, center, everywhere. Luckily, because that deer had such a square hoof and a bigger hoof, I could find him, because I've had situations before where deer like that, whether if it's not the biggest or most identifiable track, they get in that, and then it's it's a nightmare trying to decipher them. Like I lost a buck a couple years ago, ended up taking it. Oh, it burns daylight fast. Before you know it, you're circling around a barnyard for 45 minutes to an hour just trying to figure out. Luckily that one, so I looked around for probably 30 minutes, figured out where that buck had gone out, and like I said, he went up with like 3 or 4 does. 2 does ended up piling back off, heading back down low, and he stuck with 2 still going up. So get on the track. Sure enough, they're going up through, moseying, zigzagging, doing it all over. They've been feeding. Snow hadn't been stopped too long, so I know it was pretty fresh. Pull up, get on another shelf. It's like really shelfy in that chunk of woods. Get up on another shelf. Sure enough, another big just block torn up. Barnyard. And then this time, there's 2 other deer that had come down the mountain, 2 more does, or a doe and a small buck maybe, nothing too big, that had just added to that barnyard. So like super frustrating. Oh, wow. At this point, it'd take me like an hour to figure that one out, because it was so tore up, and there's like 5-6 deer kicking around in there. Finally figured it out. think I finally figured it out. Right. So we pull out of there. I'm like, well, these things have been feeding, going up. Like they got to be laying down at some point. Yeah. Sure enough, I get up to the next shelf, and there's no feeding, but there's this little knob kind of up behind it. This little softwood knob, little soft top on it. Yep. And they're heading right up for that. And from my experience before, I've tracked deer up through there before, and there's always, it seems like you always kick a couple does off that knob during the day. So he's heading up there, and I'm like, all right. So like he might be laying down up here. I'm like, it's gonna happen. Like this is smoking fresh. We've been on this thing. It's probably 11 at this point. Yep. So 3-4 hours on it. But a lot of that's just figuring out the barnyards and stuff like that. Yep. So I'm poking up to this knob. I'm starting to slow down. I'm creeping. Gun's ready. Creeping around. So we come around the right side of the knob, kind of trying to like hook to the right of it and come up from the side. So if they were looking down, or if the wind was kind of blowing, so if I was coming up that way, they would have got the dip on me quick. So I kind of circle around to the right side of it a little bit, off the tracks. Yep. Come up on the knob. As soon as I get eye level with the top of the knob, I see the top of a deer's back. Oh. I'm like, oh man. And at that time, I accidentally broke a twig. Yeah. I see the head spin. Deer stands up, get the gun right up on it, ready to go. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. I see a little bit of bone sticking, just a spike horn. Oh. So there's the spike horn. This thing ended up coming in from the back side of the knob. And so those deer that I was on went just by this buck. You can see just like 4 or 5 feet this side of the bed of that thing. Spike horn stands up. He piles off the back side of the thing. So I'm like, okay, tracks are going this way. Yep. Like didn't blow him. He went the perfect opposite direction. Yep. I was like, oh, heart was pounding. I'm like, that's it right there. There they are right there. Nope. Sure enough, spike horn files off. Damn. He goes off to the left. Tracks are going up.
My hunt would have been over at that point. It's like, so keep going.
Spike horn assassin. Yeah. So they're going up, and it's like a series of little knobs up. But the first one, that soft knob that I was telling you about, tends to always hold a few deer. So there's another knob up above this. So they're heading up for that. So going up through there, and they start zigzagging around. Start nipping buds a little bit too. So I'm like, all right, they're going to lay down again here. Mm-hmm. Get up on those knob. Nothing up there. You see they stopped, milled around for a second, and then kept going. Yeah. And they kind of drop off the backside of that knob and start hooking back left down towards the basin. So I'm like, dang, what the hell? So I come around that knob, and those things, as soon as they got around that knob, I don't know why I didn't land on the top, just about halfway down off the side of that as they're starting to slab down the valley, they're walking a straight line. And all of a sudden, bang, 90 degree, laid down right there. Yep. Come around that corner. I look down the bank about 60 yards. There's a buck. I can just see the rack. He's the farthest one down. Then there's a doe, and then there's another small buck, like a little forky. Yep. So I pull up. As soon as I see that rack, he's kind of like facing away from me. Pretty much? Yeah, I was figured going down, it's like a steep ass bank,
Yeah.
like not like a traditional spot. You always see them like trying to find something that's like level ground or something more comfortable. But this is like a steep ass bank. They just hooked a 90 immediately, laid down on that left side, and the buck is looking down towards the basin. And when I came around that corner, they all saw me, but he spun around and I can just see him looking back, like over his back towards me. So I put it right on the backside of like where the shoulder blades meet right there. Shot him, never got up, and then doe piles off, and the forky goes with her, and then I just gave him another one right after that. But that was a 9-pointer. He ended up weighing 160.
Late in the season too, so
yeah, last week of the Vermont season there, 160, scored about 110 inches. I mean, just classic Vermont, good buck. But learned a lot from that buck as far as dealing with barnyard situations and stuff. Saw a lot of deer that day, and
nice downhill drag.
Downhill drag right down to the bottom, hit the trail, and was out of there.
I think you're going to kick butt in Maine this year because you don't have a ton of experience in Maine, but you've been tracking bucks down in Vermont for so long, and I'm telling you, it's harder in Vermont.
We just need some snow.
They're more, the deer are more, I don't know, they're more switched on in Vermont. Yeah. And I just think you're gonna get up there and you're gonna be like a caged animal.
If we get some snow this year, man, it'd be great. But like last year, we had to wait till the last day to get it, and went up there, and then it was only good to get a small buck drag, a spike horn. But hopefully this year we can make something happen. I'm excited for it. But,
definitely. Is that the deer you put the picture in my office? I have to look at it every day.
No, that was last year's buck.
That was last year.
I'll post
that's that one right there, right?
That's that buck, on the wall. That was last year's buck. Same piece of woods is actually that I got that 9-pointer out of.
You got that piece of woods figured out. I mean, that's like a family tradition up there.
Yeah, and it's a big woods block of timber. But,
you and your uncle and your dad.
We've been hunting it for a few years and
or
for a lot of years, and tracking bucks in there, and it's a good piece. Heavily relying on the mass crops and stuff.
Yeah.
Last year was a good year. There's a lot of deer in there, a lot of bucks in there, but there's a lot of beech nuts. So we'll see this year. Usually it's on and off. But sometimes you get 2 years in a row. That's good.
Yep.
Got some cameras up there right now soaking, so I'm excited to go check them pretty soon and see what's going on.
The good thing in Maine for us this year is we got a plan if there's no snow, but if there is snow, we're just gonna go.
Yep.
So,
We've kind of located those areas that they seem to be liking.
Yep. So, well, looking forward to it, bud.
Yeah. Well, we can wrap this one up, but if you guys want to get some Stagger gear, go to www.staggergear.com. Get everything you see on the table here and some. Jacket
open
proof.
24/7.
Open 24/7. Orders ship the next day same day if they're ordered before noon. Trying to stay on it, get you guys stuff as fast as we can. And we're gonna have when the season kicks off here, we'll have some more shipping options too. So if you need stuff immediately, we can get it shipped overnight to you or second day or stuff. Our shipping's pretty fast. Northeast usually like 3-4 days. People have it, most guys. But we'll
can't wait to do the hunt recaps. We got some good ones coming.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of stuff. Isaac will be sitting down with a lot of his buddies doing some hunt recaps.
They already got a couple.
They already got some deer on the ground. Yep. So we'll get that coming, and we'll be doing the same for us wherever we may be. We'll be recording from the field, from camp, from back of the truck, wherever we got to do it.
We're gonna have fun, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we'll be recording and doing all that stuff. But thanks guys for tuning into this, and we'll see you guys on the next one.